Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Carrie Preston. I'm the director of Kilachand Honors College, as well as a professor in the English department and the Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies program. Let me be the first one tonight to congratulate you on your admission to Boston University and to the Kilachand Honors College. We welcome you to our open house event focused on the Kilachand Living Learning community. And we have some great folks here to talk with you. Eric.
Yes, hi there. I'm an academic advisor here at Kilachand Honors College. My name is Eric Lopez. I've been here now for what will be 3 years. And I work particularly with students who are in the BU Hub. I've worked with them now for a good 2 years now, and we're in our third year now, and we'll talk more about the BU Hub in our curriculum sessions and a little detail about it for probably here today as well. Thanks for joining us.
Professor Wu.
Hi, welcome. My name's Kin Vu. I'm a faculty in residence here at the Honors College and looking forward to sharing a little bit more about what we do up here.
And Professor Woodward.
Hi, my name is John Woodward. I'm a professor of the practice of international relations at the Pardee School of Global Studies here at Boston University. I'm in my 6th year at Boston University. Prior to that, I spent a long career doing national security and intelligence work with the US government. And this is my 2nd year as a faculty in resident here at the Kilachand Honors College.
And bringing in our students, Christian.
Hi, my name is Christian Paredes. I'm a junior studying psychology and starting my master's in public health, and I'm a resident assistant in Kilachand.
Thanks. And Catherine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine Senna. I am majoring in neuroscience with a minor in chemistry, and I'm a junior currently, and I am a resident assistant in Warren Towers, soon to be resident assistant in Kilachand next year.
I hadn't heard that. That's fantastic news, Catherine. Morgan.
Hi, everybody. I'm Morgan. I'm also a junior. I'm majoring in international relations, and I am currently home. I'm in New Jersey, but I lived in Kilachand for my first 2 years of college.
And Victoria.
Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm a junior majoring in biological anthropology with a minor in ecology, and I'm currently zooming in from my off-campus apartment, but I will be an RA in South next year.
Congratulations. And Cora.
Hi, I'm Cora. I am a sophomore studying political science and environmental analysis and policy, and I am currently in the Kilachand Brownstone.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for being here tonight, everyone. So what's going to happen tonight? We're going to talk a little bit about the Kilachand Living Learning community and then open it up for your questions. Of course, as we go through our presentation, feel free to put your questions into the Q&A function in the chat, and we'll answer them towards the end of the evening. It should last about 45 minutes this evening. So again, welcome. You see on the slide here, Kilachand Hall, which is the home base of our Living Learning community. Next slide, please. The Kilachand community is absolutely central to the mission of Kilachand Honors College. In previous open house presentations, we've talked about the curriculum and the advising support that you would receive at Kilachand, and we encourage you to check out those presentations, because here we'll just say a little bit about the curriculum and really focus on the community. So at Kilachand Honors College, you take an array of courses that fulfill your hub general education requirements at BU alongside your major and minor courses. Our curriculum is designed to encourage students to explore interests outside of their majors. And of course, we encourage their curiosity, their inquisitiveness, and their courage. We ask our students, often working in interdisciplinary teams, to tackle major global, national, and local problems from various sectors throughout the 4 years of our curriculum. The learning community at Kilachand Hall supports our work in the curriculum and seeks to offer our students a smaller sphere, a smaller community within BU that functions a little more like a small liberal arts college, but with, of course, all of the opportunities of a large urban research university. Next slide. So in addition to our 4 years of courses, we offer a co-curricular program. This is a series of events or experiences or excursions into the city of Boston that are very exciting. Sometimes they build on features of the curriculum. So just a few weeks ago, we welcomed the novelist, photographer, curator, and author, critic, absolutely interdisciplinary, diverse artist, Teju Cole. And most of our students in their first year studio courses, as well as all of our students in the 302 interdisciplinary perspectives on global challenges on the forced displacement crisis, had read Teju Cole's work. So they had read the work, they had an opportunity to see an event featuring Cole, and then the next morning, we had an event that was really focused on our students and their questions, and they had an hour and a half just to ask Cole questions and interact with this amazing thinker. We've also had excursions to the Boston Ballet, to the Institute of Contemporary Art, and often these excursions are integrated into courses and become inspirations for student writing. We take advice from our students, especially our Kilachand Leadership Advisory Board, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and hope to build out an array of events that excite them and push them outside of their typical sphere of learning. Next slide. Here you can see another of our exciting events this semester. We had Saladin K. Patterson, who is an executive producer of the comedy series Dave and has worked on multiple other TV shows as a writer and producer. Patterson was in virtual residence. Typically, our scholar in residence is actually in person at BU, doing several events with students. These might include class visits, they might include lectures. Occasionally we've had workshops and opportunities for discussion. But the idea is that our students will have the opportunity over several days to really engage with a fascinating and interesting person who's made an impact through their career or their creativity. In your first year at Kilachand, you will take a 2-course sequence called the Writing Studio. This fulfills the writing requirement for university. And this is a flexible curriculum that I really think kind of starts out the spirit of Kilachand, in that you're in courses that are no bigger than 12 people. You get to know those people really, really well. Your instructor also meets with you one-on-one at least 3 times over the course of the semester, and occasionally more frequently than that. We build out every year. There are at least 2 co-curricular events that build on the curriculum that our students are studying in studio. And in fact, we redesign that curriculum every semester. So in the summer of 2020, talking with our studio instructor team, we recognized that politics, pandemic, policing, and power were on everyone's minds. And so that became the year-long topic for our studio course. Next slide. Most of our events are held in Kilachand Hall, which you see pictured here. Our directors' offices are in that hall, as are our advisors' offices in the hall. We have a big room that allows us to hold events, both co-curricular, academic events. We have a small room in which many of our smaller classes are scheduled. And first-year students always live in Kilachand Hall, where they benefit from frequent informal interactions with our faculty, our directors, and our student services staff. After the first year, students can live anywhere on campus, and upper class students often choose to live in our beautiful brownstone, just a block away from Kilachand Hall, with incredible views of the water from many of the rooms, of the Charles River from many of the rooms. Go ahead, Eric.
We are having a little bit of technical difficulty on my end, but I am solving them and we're working on it. So welcome again, everyone. So I'd love to talk more and feature actually our Kilachand Hall Faculty-in-Residence today. I'd love to take this opportunity to introduce you all once again, Dr. Vu, as well as our professor of the practice of international relations, John Woodward. And I'd love to ask them these two questions that I think are very key to, I think, not only the experience that students may have with FIRs, but keys to their role as community members, as part of our community. So I'd love if either one of you can take the mic first, but what is your definition of community and how has that played a part in the community you build in Kilachand Hall? And maybe also tell us what floor you're on. That's a great thing maybe to start off with too, just to prime us there. I don't know if I'm connected.
Hi. My name's Kien Vu. I'm an assistant professor of music education at the College of Fine Arts. I am a faculty in residence on the 4th floor of Kilachand Hall. The 4th floor of Kilachand Hall is haunted. It is a true story. The only American playwright to win 4 Pulitzer Prizes and a Nobel Prize, Eugene O'Neill, lived on this hall back in the 1950s when this was still an apartment hotel. And in room 401, just behind me, is where he passed in November of 1953. I think that is correct. I think it was November 27th in 1953. Eugene O'Neill is buried just about 6 miles away at Jamaica Plain at the Forest Hills Cemetery, which is this beautiful Gilded Age burial ground. But as a faculty in residence, I have 2 functions here. I host open hours. This year we've been doing a lot of walking outside where it's been safe, eating a lot of JP Licks ice cream. And then the other thing I do is I coordinate the specialty housing called Writers Corridor in memoriam to Eugene O'Neill. Both of those activities to me have been really wonderful ways to create community here at the Honors College and across the institution, really. I have students during normal circumstances from across the university's campus coming for open hours because I'm a pretty darn good baker, just saying. And what about food does not create community? And in the Writers Corridor, again, normal circumstances, anyone can join. And so I have students from actually across many different dorms. Community here at BU and at the Honors College specifically is really about relationship making. And that's just time spent together. And this year in particular, it's taken on a deeper meaning whenever we can be together, mask and all. We've relished that ability to just be in the same space, socially distant, looking at each other and saying, we're here, we're making this happen. We are not alone in this, even though we feel incredibly isolated sometimes. And this community has been really fabulous, I think, here at the Honors College.
I very much agree with what Professor Vu said about the idea of community here at Kilachand. And for me, in my second year, I've been really impressed with the idea that to me, the Kilachand community means it's individuals who care. They care about their fellow human beings. They care about the world. They do have very intense intellectual curiosity. It's a place where the members value diversity. They value inclusion. Those aren't just slogans. The members here believe that. I've been very impressed with the respect and the courtesy that's shown. where we encourage dialogue and discussion. And I think at heart, we all feel we can be a positive force to making, and that's a wonderful sense of optimism. In fact, I joke with my students in my first year Kilachand course. I spent a long career doing intelligence work, doing espionage overseas for the US government. And I like to joke with my students, they come here full of hope and optimism and idealism, and it's my job to crush it out of them. Keep your optimism and keep your hope and keep your positive thoughts. And this is a place that will nurture those thoughts and expand them. As far as activities, once a week, I have an apartment open house. I'm on the second floor. I see my old neighbor Cora is here. I would have Tuesday night open house, and I learned the right formula was to have nachos, known as killer nachos, killer like hot nachos. It's like a joke. Killer nachos and chocolate chip cookies. And the students were always very kind when they would attend. They would pretend that they were really there and interested to talk to me, Professor Woodward, when in fact, they were really very happy just to talk amongst themselves and exchange ideas. And we had a lot of fun, and it did help. Cora's neighbor brought Swiss-like precision to making the chocolate chip cookies, right? Isabel and Glenn took it very, very seriously. But we had a lot of fun doing that. And I think that in the fall, we'll return to a new normal with respect to COVID. My own interest is very much history. So I would do walking tours, tours of the BU campus called a Spy's Guide to Boston University. You would be surprised how much intelligence activities Boston University's been engaged in. Did you know there was a Al-Qaeda chapter just off the West Campus at Boston University? Maybe you don't want to know that, but at any rate, take my tour, you'll learn that. And I do a historical tour of downtown Boston, which is a lot of espionage related sites. In terms of some interesting speakers that I sponsored, we had John Bell, who was a Broadway musical conductor. His most recent event was My Fair Lady. Actually, I think when COVID hit, they were on the national tour. I think he was stuck in Columbus, Ohio, but he talked to students about that experience. And I had Daryl Blocker. Many years ago, Daryl and I served together in Africa for the CIA. Unlike myself, Daryl went on to a great career in the CIA. He was the deputy director of the nation's counterterrorism center. And when he retired recently from the CIA, he was probably one of the most senior Black officers in the intelligence community. And he talked to the students about that experience. But at any rate, I welcome you to Kilachand. I'm on the second floor, and I hope that in the fall semester, we'll have a more normal environment where there's more personal contact. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you to both of you for just adding so much texture to, what it is to live in this hall, to be in this hall, and to have partners like a faculty in residence during your journey here at BU. So we'll talk more with them during the Q&A. Please, if you'd like to know more about the hauntings or about the espionage community, please drop that in the Q&A box, and we're happy to continue that conversation as well. So we'll continue just here, talking a little bit more about the shared space of Kilachand. So as you see here, you see in front of you two photos, one of which are Blue Wall, that we hope you've seen before. And if you haven't seen it before, you might see it come this fall, right? So this is the entranceway and a lobby level of Kilachand Hall. And that includes basically everything from academic advising to a coffee machine that gives free coffee, which is nice, and also free hot chocolate. Okay, there's free hot water for tea as well. There's chocolate chats that are run with our director, Carrie Preston, as well as student group meetings that occur within this space. Really, you should think of this space as part of the home that you exist within. Usually we have our door wide open. Megan is there to greet you and to help you navigate the corridor to find either myself, Taryn Craig was another academic advisor, Danny Hoffman, or our director, Amanda Shalley, and all of whom are ready to help you and are ready to just have a conversation. And really, that's really what the first floor of Kilachand is for. There's also a common area directly off of the lobby as well. And that's where these Kilachand teas and study breaks are held. So as you can see here with this big picture on the left here, this is kind of how we gather around food, around sharing conversation. And so we hold monthly teas for students, faculty, and staff to just come together informally, just as a community. And then our wonderful, wonderful peer mentors host monthly study breaks to connect with their students, to connect with their mentees, to connect on just a regular human being level and try to decrease the stress that comes with either being a brand new college student or just adapting, right, as we sort of continue our growth through college and through this process. So right here, I'd like to highlight as well one of our programs, our favorite film series. So these highlight films that are relevant to the curriculum. They're also sometimes just our favorite films that we want to show. So here you can see two examples that happened last year with Dawnland that was hosted by one of our postdocs, Travis Franks, as well as for Sama here, as you can see. We love hosting places where our students are able to have conversation, are able to create discussion, and then are able to reflect on that for themselves. And this is, come on in. If you got a free night, we're happy to see you. And typically, whoever's hosting is there present as well. So I'd love to introduce to you all the Circle series at Kilachand. I helped to create it, and it's one of my favorite things as part of our community. These are empowerment spaces for these particular populations. So for the last, believe 2 years now, we've been hosting circles for POC, which is persons of color, LGBTQIA plus circle, as well as our FGLI circle, which is newly added this year, which is our first generation low income circle. All of these circles are exclusive to these populations and allow students in these populations to share their experiences with success, struggle, and difference. There's a lot of different stories when you come to Kilachand and when you come to BU, and we hope that these spaces can be places where you can share those big wins, you can share that terrible midterm, or you can share that, hey, here's how things are going for me, and I'd love some help, or I'd love to have someone hear me. So this is hopefully a space where you can find yourself, and these will be open, and there will be a calendar event forwarded to you every month. So that's the way you get connected with those two as well. So I'll hand it on over to Carrie to talk more about KLAB and to wrap up this part of our presentation.
Thanks so much, Eric. So a little over 4 years, I did KLAB, Kilachand Leadership Advisory Board, and I was, in addition to being quite excited by how the acronym played out, because I read as in the other directors and leaders of the college and really do work on it. You elect your manager to KLAB and different function. What you see in this picture, current KLAB senior Noel had organized a panel discussion titled "Facing Your Fears, Resilience in Mental Health Treatment" to talk about wellness. And in fact, this developed into Noel's Keystone project, which she will be presenting very, very shortly. If you could go to the next slide. Our peer mentors are a wonderful, exciting, happy group of people, as you can see here. All of our first year students are assigned a peer mentor, typically someone who shares an academic or intellectual interest, or in some cases is from the same hometown or the same state as their mentee. They meet at our exciting welcome and back to school barbecue, where the peer mentors are announced, and then they share a meal together it's always the first Friday of the semester. And then you keep that mentor throughout your first year, but also throughout your 3 years or 4 years, however long you have the mentor before they graduate on and move on. But many of our students have in fact stayed in touch with their peer mentors even after graduation. And coming next year, we will have an alumni mentor program in place as well, even though that's already kind of happening. To the next slide, Eric. Our Kilachand Ambassadors are the college's official hosts and representatives. If we were able to host you at Kilachand Hall for an open house, as we would love to do and as we will do again in the future, they would be there to talk with you in person. Since we can't do that this year, their contact information is available. You can look them up, find their interests, reach out to anyone. They're prepared to answer questions honestly as they can and from their own perspective. And we also have some of our ambassadors here this evening. Student panel. I mentioned when I was talking about Noelle's panel on wellness, that this had developed into her senior Keystone project. The Keystone project is really the culmination of Kilachand's curriculum. In the June, that is the proposal workshop. Our students write proposals for their Keystone projects, develop a budget. There's $2,000 available for students to use for their projects, and get prepared for a senior year in which they complete sustained work of empirical or scholarly research, creativity, and/or invention. Many of our students are using all of that in the incredible Keystone projects that they're creating in their senior year. And then the last weekend in April, this is coming up April 24th and April 25th this year, our students present their Keystone projects at a celebratory Keystone Symposium. You can find information, more information about the symposium on our website, and even zoom in to check out the projects, learn about the incredible work that our students are doing. Next slide. Okay, we do have 2 more upcoming open house events. We'll be focused on the Keystone project as well as our exciting experiential learning program, which takes our students outside of the classroom using the skills that they develop in the classroom in the program into the community and sometimes abroad to do work, real work, good work in the world. And then we finish off with our Kilachand student panel. So go to your BU portal to register for those events. If you did miss one of our earlier open houses on the curriculum or the advising support, those will be up on our website for you to watch later. And of course, we welcome any questions at any time about those presentations. With that, we will take down the slides and address your questions. So feel free to send them into the Q&A for us. We've had one that came in very early. It looks like 6:06. So this is a pressing question. How do you students like living in the Kilachand Honors dorm? I would open this to any of our students who want to jump in.
I can start, I guess. So living in Kilachand is great. BU is a very big school, but Kilachand really offered a smaller community, not only of people you're living with, but also people you're taking classes with. So really wherever you go, you're building like really close relationships. And even in your activities outside Kilachand, you're usually finding people in each of those activities, at least 1 or 2 who are also in Kilachand. So it's really great to just have like 1 or 2 people you know in everything you do. And also just to like live closely with people you're taking classes with. Yeah, so it's been really great. It's a great, we have the best hall in my opinion, and it's a really great location too. Bay State Road is beautiful. So it's been great, and I've been here all 3 years so far.
Another thing is also just thinking about like the actual building. This obviously like isn't as important as like all the community stuff, but the rooms are really big and there's air conditioning and there's private bathrooms, which most of the other freshman dorms are not going to have. So that was a really nice thing to have. And then also Professor Woodward was mentioning earlier, I was his neighbor last year. I lived right across the hall. So that was one of my favorite parts, was going to his open houses. There was a lot of fun snacks and conversations over there.
They said it perfectly. The location is great. The building is great. But to speak more on the location, I loved the fact that it's on the Kenmore stop, which means you can take any line except the E line to it when you're going in to downtown Boston. It's just a huge extra perk. So it makes it feel like you're more a part of the Boston community and the BU community at the same time because you're on East Campus.
I'd say my favorite part was probably the fact that you are steps from the Esplanade, and I like to go for runs in the morning. And so it's so easy to get out the door, walk or run down to the bridge. And Professor Vu is showing you now, that's where I would run every single morning. So I'll have to make sure that I wave to him next year.
I'll answer this as staff. I mean, it's fun to just go to the office. It's a beautiful place to just go into, and then you walk out and it's just tree-lined street. Dining halls across the street, so I imagine that's fun for everybody. That's a great thing too, right? And then the Esplanade, Morgan, when you said the Esplanade, that's the minute I was just like, that's what I miss about being so close to the water and being so close there. But yeah, that's a advisor perspective too.
I love that too. The Esplanade, so I'm a runner, and the Esplanade is a fantastic traffic light free location. It's really, I call it nature for city folk. And if you run the entire thing, it's about 18 miles. If you go out to Watertown, come back into the city, go into the city, back around to Kilachand. It's really pretty great. So it's a nice afternoon for a run or a walk, a long afternoon for a walk. It's really pretty fantastic. And this is a walkable city. I don't know if anybody's asked that question, but one of the things I always tell prospective students and current students in my program in the School of Music, about 50% of your education is on campus on Bay State Road and Commonwealth Avenue, and maybe the Med campus or the Fenway campus. The other 50% is out in the city of Boston. It is out in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, out in New England, out in the Northeast, out in the US, and around the globe. And if you do not get off this campus, you have wasted half your tuition. Because we faculty and many students have done things and facilitated programs that help you get off this campus to make your education come alive. If you're studying forced human displacement, you can join Professor Preston or Professor Zaman or Professor Vu out in the city, out in the world, literally, Uganda, Palestine, Vietnam, sans COVID, of course. But this is where the curriculum of the Honors College and your major, it might not be Honors College, like School of Music, for instance, comes to life.
And Professor Vu, I hope whet your appetite to come to the next open house event, which is really focused on experiential learning. And we absolutely will be out in the city and around the world next year. There are plans to put study abroad and travel back in place as long as it is safe. Yes. Another question here, somewhat related to the question about Kilachand Hall. Is it easy to stay connected to students not in Kilachand, even though you live in Kilachand Hall? How does Kilachand Hall compare to other typical freshman dorms? We did hear about the bathroom, but are there other features that you would compare? Maybe we could start, I think Victoria didn't. Oh, Catherine, go for it.
Yeah, so most of my friends freshman year that I still have friendships with, they're really strong friendships, were not made with Kilachand Honor students. Part of it was that I lived in a double in Kilachand instead of a normal suite style. And I know that a lot of people made their friends through those normal suite style arrangements. But I just met them at orientation, we hit it off, and it was super easy to stay connected with them. Although this year it was a little bit more challenging because the residences were closed off to other guests outside of the building that they were in. But I was able to, my freshman year, to go over to their dorms and hang out with them, and they were able to come to me. And it's not like a segregated sort of situation. Like, you get to go about freely in a normal year, which is something that they have referenced will potentially be taking place. So that's really hopeful. And then what was the last part of the question? Oh, like Christian said, it's honestly one of the nicest options for freshman dorm housing. No communal bathrooms, and you get like closer knit friends. So definitely a better situation than normal freshman housing. And I live there right now, so I can tell you that for sure.
I think it's definitely very easy to meet and connect with students outside of Kilachand, especially freshman year and even throughout your college experience. You're taking courses beyond Kilachand, so you're already having classmates and peers in other classes. And there's also, you can attend Splash, which is an event each fall and each spring where you can go around, and it's usually really chaotic on Nickerson, tons of tables, thousands of students walking around and like yelling at you to join their club. It's crazy, but it's amazing. And through that, you can join different clubs, try something totally new, or stick to things that you love and find other people that love those same things. And from there, there are club meetings, club events. Some of my best friends I met that freshman year at Splash, joining the outing club. And then obviously just living in Kilachand, like everybody else has talked about, my freshman year suite, definitely some of my best friends that I still have to this day, I met in my freshman year suite, but that didn't stop me from making equal best friends elsewhere around the university.
Another like benefit of the building itself that we haven't talked about yet is the 9th floor. It's this like really expansive study room, and there's you can see the river, like this huge beautiful view of the river in Cambridge, and then on the other side you can actually like see into Fenway Park, which is actually really cool. And so like when there's games, it's all lit up and everything. But yeah, that's a really great resource that other freshman buildings do not have as nice of a study room like that.
Best view on campus. I actually think it's an incredible room. A question here, are there student events relating to STEM topics in addition to more liberal arts lectures? So our last co-curricular event was a STEM event focused on wind energy that brought together different perspectives from business to, of course, science and to political science on that panel to recognize that, in fact, wind energy and sustainable energy more generally are interdisciplinary topics, not just STEM topics. But I wonder if any of our students have attended a memorable STEM co-curricular. STEM related. At Kilachand, we sort of push the boundaries and say that, in fact, STEM is interrelated with other disciplines and fields, as are the humanities and social sciences.
One of my favorites was, I think, my sophomore year, and the speaker was a chemist who went through her undergraduate experience as a chemistry major, expecting to go to med school, and then she decided to, after doing her undergrad and maybe a PhD, she went and worked for a brewery and just talked about her work and all like the quality control stuff she did, and just like basically just telling us that our paths are really open and that like you're not really locked into a specific path and there are like a lot of opportunities. But that one was very much STEM related. So this question made me think of that.
Here's a question that I think would be great for Eric. And this is a question about the circle series. Do you imagine putting together additional circles, and would you be interested in an allies circle to learn to support diversity?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting that this question comes up here. It hasn't come up before, which I'm really just surprised by, mostly in the idea that this question is so valuable in terms of what actually happened with the development of first generation low income circle. That circle was actually not in the beginning of the creation of the program. That was actually created via myself and Aidan Chafin, a senior in Kilachand, who is also an RA of all things. I don't know how many RAs we can add into this conversation at this point. I hope we can add more, always. That's to say that Aidan and I worked very closely the summer before the year started, and had a clear mission for that circle. We articulated that through a vision, just talking about how do we talk about, right, when it comes to being low income at a university, right, what are those experiences like? What kind of conditions do we understand of that? And thereby, how do we understand our biases? That is how he wanted to approach it. And so in a lot of ways, I really put it out there to say, I think if you have an idea for one of these circles, if you have a motivation to speak more on this, I'm always happy to have a conversation and to develop it with you. Me and Aidan started off from a very nascent idea, very small. First generation and low income students need more resources. That's where we started from. And if we can start from a similar idea with you all, that would be great. And that's why our doors on the first floor are always open. You can always find us, even when we know you're just trying to get coffee and get out of there and ask us one question. I know you're trying to ask us one question, but I want to talk to you for like 15 minutes, please. I like talking to you all. This is for all the students in the room right now who come by a door and then just leave with taking chocolate. Okay, I see you when you just take chocolate and leave. Okay, so also say, if there is a new circle that could be created, it'd be Dr. Fu, yes. And so if there is a new circle that would need to be created, it all is about the relationship between our staff and our faculty and the students in creating that.
Chocolate is an important feature of Kilachand Hall. There is always chocolate available in the offices. And I think Eric mentioned earlier that I hold weekly informal chocolate chats at which one of the goals is to eat chocolate and the other to talk. Sometimes we have themes for those discussions, like it's midterm time strategies, but often it's just open mic and conversation. So yes, chocolate is important. One of the fantastic questions that came in was a response to my note that $2,000 is available for every Kilachand Keystone project completed by our students in their senior year. The question is, are there any other resources for funding research BU students can take advantage of? And the answer is yes. Of the institutions that I know of, BU is incredibly devoted to supporting student research. One of the main programs that does that is our Europe program, Undergraduate Research Opportunities, Europe. I myself am mentoring 2 Europe projects for Keystone students. I know Dr. Vu has mentored some, and I'm guessing Professor Woodward has too. And we have a couple of students who are engaged in Europe projects now. So Catherine, do you want to say anything about your experience with Europe? And then we can follow up with Christian.
Yeah, I will be participating in a Europe this coming summer. It's a lab that I've been a part of since freshman year, actually, and I'm very excited to just do my own project in that time and get it funded and get paid for it. It's very exciting to get work that isn't just free labor for my lab. So it's a unique opportunity to be able to continue to build my resume while getting paid and participating in this lab that I've been a part of for so long. So.
Yeah, just to follow up, I volunteered in a lab my sophomore year and it was all unpaid, which is totally doable. But right now, as a junior, I'm able to get funding through Europe. It's just the first time I've applied for it and received it because I'm in a new lab now, and it's a lot smaller. But it's great doing your own project and getting compensated for it, and also just like getting more one-on-one time with a faculty member and just more focus with your project. And I'm doing it this summer as well, and I think hopefully this project is going to transition into my Keystone. So yeah, it's been a great experience.
Similar to Christian and Katie, I got involved working in a lab, kind of volunteering my time as a freshman. I was actually able to use some money awarded through my work study through financial aid to pay for my time. And actually this coming summer will be my third semester receiving UROP funding. So last summer and into the fall, I was doing a project on orangutan conservation, which is super interesting and cool, which I can talk more about. You all can email me later if you're interested. And one of the really cool things about Europe in general is that they're really invested in just like professional development and like building this mentor-mentee relationship, which is so valuable. So I know throughout our summer Europe, they host a series of like kind of professional development where we all got on Zoom, and basically there were different lectures on, or I guess more talks about, you know, how to present research or how to navigate a mentor-mentee relationship. And has been a really awesome experience. It has also prepared me to present my own research at a conference, which is really awesome. So it really does a great job at fostering research relationships, especially those mentor-mentee relationships.
And then to answer the question about the application process, there is a separate application process. Primarily, you work on it with your mentor before the deadline. Like, for example, this deadline for the summer project was at the beginning of March. And generally, it's a lab that you are already a part of or an idea that you already have, and you just develop it into writing and propose it, and then they'll get back to you on whether they'll fund it or not. But yeah.
Can I just add, it's a really professional process that we engage in as scholars, as young scholars, meeting with advanced scholars who are interested in, you know, the same or similar topics. And the people who spoke about their experiences sound like they're largely in the sciences. These UROPs are offered all across the institution, liberal arts, from writing to, I've hosted two or three music UROP students in the past couple of years. It's very broad. And there's a spring and a fall showcase, right? Maybe someone could speak to that, and then.
Unfortunately, our fall symposium we were supposed to have during Friends and Family Weekend was canceled because of the pandemic. But typically, summer projects, you put together a poster and you get one of those like really big fancy posters that everybody wants to have someday. I know I'm still itching to get mine printed. And they have, I believe it takes place in the GSU, maybe in the ballroom. And everybody presents their big posters of what they worked on all summer. So I'm really looking forward to that happening next fall, hopefully. But that's a really great networking opportunity. And again, just like speaking and interacting and sharing what you spent all your time working on.
The Europe program is fantastic, and many of our students take advantage of it. In your first year studio course, the second semester is focused on research, developing research skills and writing skills. So our students are really well prepared to engage after that first year with more independent research projects. Although every Europe project is guided by a faculty mentor. And one of the things that was mentioned, I think Catherine and Christian both said that their Europe project was going to lead in some way or another to their Keystone project. This is super common where students have been working in a lab or working under mentored research earlier in their career at BU, and they just continue to develop that in their senior Keystone project. But we also have students who completely shift gears and maybe work in a lab all 4 years and write musicals and put on musicals as their keystone project. And we encourage that kind of exploration of passions, whether they are central to just our person or also central to our academic career at BU. There's a fantastic question that you sent in, one of the most important, I think, and I'm really excited to have our students talk about this. It is work-life balance. How difficult is it to maintain work-life balance in Kilachand? And secondarily, especially as a double major. So any thoughts from any of our students on work-life balance?
I can kind of talk about this a little bit. I am a double major. I actually had a meeting earlier today with Eric talking about my schedule. So I was literally just thinking about this with him. But so I am a double major. I'm a Kilachand student, and I have enough space in my schedule to study abroad next spring. So I think this is just like kind of an example of how with good planning, and if you're able to plan well, you can really do like anything that you're interested in. Balancing everything, I think, again, just comes down to creating a good schedule for yourself and a good routine, and like being able to hold yourself accountable to get the work done, and then you're able to really enjoy the rest of the school. And as Professor Vu was saying, like get out into Boston and like really get to explore your surroundings. So I'd say it's definitely super possible.
I also wanted to add to the fact that that getting a really good schedule is significantly easier as a Kilachand student because we have that first registration time. That maybe is one of the best parts. I mean, there's a lot of really great things about being in Kilachand, but like that is one of the best parts about being in Kilachand because it means we don't have to stress as much about our schedules and what happens. So you get like your plan A and if not plan B, but like a lot of students have to pick like plan G and H and F and all those. So it's a huge perk and makes it a lot easier to double major or minor.
I hope that some of the features of the presentation earlier also indicated our emphasis on co-curricular activities, study breaks, watching a film in the common room, teas every month that are just time to relax and talk. We feel that is very, very important at Kilachand. All of us struggle with work-life balance. We are open about those conversations. We are open about sharing strategies. That panel I mentioned earlier on wellness and mental health is, that's a constant conversation that we're having. Our advisors are incredibly supportive as well of our students, both in helping them juggle all of their intellectual interests, but also so often saying, take a step back, let's look at the semester, or let's look at the semester you're planning and think about where's time for you and your passions in that schedule. That is the spirit that we work with at Kilachand. We are running out of time, but Eric has a great question to send us off.
I think I can fit in two questions, and I want to do this very quickly, and I want to do one. I think my more important question second. The first question, though, to all of our student volunteers here today: what's your number one BU dorm college living tip? Like, what do these people need to know before they get to BU?
I would say it's fun to be friends with your RA. I was friends with my RA, Glenn, last year. Professor Woodward knows Glenn too. And we would like see him in the dining hall and be like joking with him all the time. And yeah, I think that's really nice. Also, like, if you end up like doing something wrong, they're less likely to like maybe get you in trouble. I don't know. There's RAs on the call too, so I'm not sure if that's like allowed to be talked about, but I had a lot of fun being friends with Glenn. And then he like got into law school and we were so excited for him. And yeah, it was just a good time.
Something I didn't learn until I had a work study job in the office in Kilachand for the Res Life office. And something that I didn't learn until I started working there was that they actually have vacuums that they can rent out to you. And I bought a vacuum my freshman year to clean my dorm. So you don't have to do that. I promise. the vacuums here work.
I had no idea they had vacuums. Seriously? Okay, that's shocking.
You can check them out with your ID card.
Wow. Unrelated, but a tip I think I have is making of like your actual living space is making it a place that makes you happy. Not sure if you're gonna get homesick or not, but it's also just nice to have a place where you like doing work or you even like hanging out. Especially, I mean, right now with COVID, obviously you're spending a lot of time in your dorm or in your apartment. But even pre-pandemic, I definitely loved curating my dorm space to a place that made me really happy. So like pictures from home or just good vibes. You know, that's a place you want to be and you want to thrive in. Lots of plants too.
I'd say definitely living with someone you don't know for the first time, at least that's how it was for me, can be scary, but just keep an open mind because it's really a great experience. And also the RA in me is also saying fill out your living guides, which you'll know what those are when you get here, but they're really helpful with any potential like just living issues that might come up when you're living with a different person. So if you have me as your RA, I'll be saying that next year. Also call your parents.
Also, to add on to the like living with a random roommate sort of thing, the roommate like relationship is whatever you make of it. They can be your best friend if you want them to be, or you can just be acquaintances. It's really however you foster it and build it. All relationships take work, and that's just, it's up to you how much you want to put in. So
The wisdom of the many years here at Kilachand. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And so I want to close with this question, and I think it's very appropriate to be thinking a little bit about the future. I know that we've got 2 weeks left in the end of the semester. I know everyone's thinking literally about the next 2 weeks, and I apologize for reminding you in the midst of this presentation I did a bad thing just then. So all of that is to say, what are you most looking forward to in the fall? You know, what activities and community events across the campus are you excited to be returning to? And this is also to the FIRs, please. Absolutely chime on in here. But if you could share maybe 1 or 2 things that you kind of feel like amongst the new normal that we'll be part of, what would you, what are you most excited to look for, or what are you looking forward to?
I have mine immediately, so I will jump in. I want a line of students at the coffee maker next to my office so that I can jump out and chat or try to cut line to get my coffee first, and follow up on something that happened during class. I just really want students in and out of our offices and at that coffee maker.
I'm really looking forward to the first couple open hours when students can return to coming back into my apartment. I mean, this is the reason the university gives faculty in residence apartments, so the large apartments, so students can come in. I have definitely broken fire code, I am pretty sure. Yeah, there might have been 30 or so students in my living room one night, maybe at the beginning of the year, 2 years ago. Yeah, it was stunning. There was so much flour and sugar everywhere.
I very much look forward to hosting the Nacho Nights. I've missed them a lot, actually, more than I thought I would. Right. And Cora was a regular attendee. And she mentioned Glenn, our RA, who was a very lovable guy. And remember we had the party for got accepted to NYU Law School? It was a good time, and I miss that. It was a lot of fun in a very casual, relaxed atmosphere. We just all benefited from it. It'll be fun to get that back.
One thing that will hopefully be back, last year I was on the club basketball team, but this year we haven't been able to meet at all because that's a very in-person event. So hopefully that will be back in the fall, and that'll be a nice regular form of exercise for me to be doing, because I don't love running quite as much as some of the other people on this call. So
I am very much anticipating just the buzz of a fully active campus. I was walking to a class yesterday, and SARP, which is like sexual assault response prevention. This is a student group, and they were like on the sidewalk doing sidewalk chalk and handing out like masks and pins. And that was like the first time I've seen a group on campus handing something out since March 2020. And it brought me so much joy. I was like, oh my gosh, give me a pin. This is amazing. And it just, so much serotonin. I can't wait for just people to be in like the GSU alley trying to sell you things, trying to hand you things. Just the buzz of everybody being there, everybody just going through the motions and connecting. And I can't wait. I'm very antsy about it.
I'm really excited to see tons of people on the 9th floor studying and just being able to go and talk to people without being worried about COVID, and seeing people around the floor, people going into each other's rooms. It's been very different this year, but next year I'm optimistic it will be a lot more fun.
All the social aspects I'm definitely about, but I'm also just so excited to learn in a classroom again, how I have been taught to learn for my entire life, because it's so hard to learn how I am right now. But yeah, for sure.
So I haven't been on campus since March 2020, so I am going to give everybody a giant hug. Like, if even I barely know you, like, you're getting a hug. And I'm also never going to be mad at the GSU Starbucks line ever again, really.
All right, Eric.
I have to say something, right? I asked the question. I want to sit in my office and I want to see someone randomly walk to the library and hesitate to grab a book, and then I ask them, hey, do you need any help? And they turn around and they actually need a lot of other help and have a lot of other questions and want to get to know where they even are in the hallway and where is Amanda's office. And I want that serendipitous moment, right? The carefree moment too. And I think that's something that I miss so much. And so I'm really excited for it to return this fall.
Thanks everyone for sharing that excitement. I feel so optimistic and happy, happier than I have in a while, just looking forward to next year. For our guests who have joined us tonight, we hope that this enthusiasm and excitement is contagious and that you are also eager to join us next fall. We will welcome you with open arms, coffee, nachos, cookies, and Morgan's hugs. So please join us. Be in touch if you have any questions. Our ambassadors are there ready for your email or note, and so are all of us. Stay well. We hope that you and your loved ones are all well, and good night.